Thank you. My most sincere gratitude for the opportunity of not only having been a member of the Institute of Certified Secretaries, but also the opportunity to have served you and also to have led you in various capacities. I don't know whether there are those amongst us who remember. Okay, I joined the Institute in the year 2000. I am member number 1296. We were very few then, maybe 1,300 members. What I found when I became a member at the Institute was that there was a group collegiality. Everybody practically knew everybody else. And there was a lot of support, a lot of guidance, and I'm sure you remember how we would exchange notes, how we would talk to each other, mostly aspirational, and say, one day we're going to be able to have a country that has good governance principles, integrity, transparency, and accountability. In the year 2000, long before the Constitution of Kenya came to being, long before Article 10, 2C and D was promulgated in our Constitution. Your discussions, your emphasis, your ideas laid the real foundation for inclusion into our Constitution. In fact, good governance principles are spoken about together with our national values, and it's constitutional. And we met and we rallied. And many of you made sure that we voted yes to get the Constitution. And from there, we had to engage with building on what those terms actually mean. And we really must thank our founders. There were many. Our founder chairman, quite a number of the chairmen who have led in the intervening period are still with us today. We need to thank them for their vision, because their vision carriers, they came up with these ideas even when nobody had thought about them before. I don't know whether you remember, as certified secretaries, company secretaries is what we were called mostly. If you remember when we had to write our minutes, in handwriting, with our hands on paper and pen. We had to prepare board papers in the analog format. We were not even using computers. We sometimes typed those board papers, even the minutes. And many things have happened and changed in the intervening period, because when we realized that, we can actually use our computers to prepare for our meetings, it revolutionized how we did our business, how we told ourselves, this is what we can do, this is what we cannot do. And we have been able to ensure that our systems are virtual today. Analog was an interesting season. And I remember when we would have to send drivers for our directors to come and engage in our meetings. The meetings had to be physical, they had to be in person. And I know when we started having these discussions, you would say, the chairman in my company needs to be handled like this. The directors need to be handled like this. Questions about what kind of information we needed to put together, how to put it together, and also how to present it, and more importantly, how to preserve it. I know you remember, because we came for conferences, we discussed these issues, you made decisions, we advised each other, and we came up with best practice. I'm sure you remember the genesis of that term, best practice, and today we use it indiscriminately. But I assure you, the members who were there then, they can remember when we would have those discussions, when we would say that we have to meet every year so that we could have a forum where we can discuss away from the usual day-to-day and engage with what is happening now, what should we be thinking about now, who should be involved in these processes. And because maybe we don't always remember today what happened then, And I know COVID helped us very much on the journey for virtual platforms and virtual meetings and virtual everything. Because we had set the systems in place, we knew that we would be able to move our systems from the analog approach to the virtual approach. And our question in our articles, do we provide for virtual meetings? And we had to have a meeting, I remember, to see how we could incorporate it into our usual systems and processes. And you see, what that means is that somebody was thinking, somebody made the presentations, you, our members, made the decisions. I know you remember because you were there and we engaged with this subject. I don't know whether you remember when we put together the actual guidelines and the standards, because we said we cannot always be talking about, this is what good governance determines. We must leave an indelible mark with, first of all, your inspiration, with our commitment. I know I was in the professional development team, and even our CEO was our secretary, and we generated these documents and we worked on them. Maybe you may remember, or if you don't remember, maybe you have heard our First Lady Chairman. She really inspired us. There was that small room at the Institute premises, the workshop room we called it, where we discussed those standards, those guidelines, where we discussed even mwongozo and came up with a code for public state corporations. It was a lot of work, but that is what really evolved us, changed us from being just secretaries to governance professionals. We burned the midnight oil, by the way, day by day by day. And we really must thank our emerita chairman, Catherine Musahali. We must thank all those members who sat and made the proposal, because we brought those instruments to you to approve. And I have to thank every member who was there in those meetings when we said, this is what we want to see included in each and every one of the guidelines. When we said, you know what, because we have set standards, we also need auditors. And we said we must have governance auditors. And we asked ourselves, so if we're going to do that, then what does that mean? Is there a curriculum? What are we going to put in place? And we developed the governance auditors accreditation course, just like that. And in time, what that has meant is that when we face our publics, when we face the corporations in the public sector, in the private sector, those that are listed, those that are SMEs, we are able to say, you see, we sat down, we thought through these processes, and ultimately we came with the standards, and we even came up with a mechanism to ensure that when we tell our company secretaries that this is how we are going to do business, we are also going to audit to make sure that they have complied with the standards and guidelines. That was all you. That was all your input. And from that germ of an idea, that seed, that is how we were able to say, ultimately, our training is actually very well sought after. It is demanded by institutions around the country, and always we have had the best facilitators. And I don't know whether you know that the people who run our programs are really highly accomplished individuals. They're the ones who made governance practice what it is today. And everybody always asks and says, we actually just want trainers from ICS, because you challenged us, you made us take that extra step, and you told us that we are an institute of excellence. It's one of our core values, an institute of excellence. And in relation to excellence, we have been pushing the envelope. And what that has meant is that ultimately, TVET has granted us a license for the Governance Ethics Academy. That is our new baby, and I know this is one of the areas that I want to challenge each and every one of us to say, The Governance Ethics Academy is mine, and I know that not only will you come in as faculty, that you'll ensure that your publics, your people, your companies will come to ensure that we are able to train them. So I think first thing, watch this space and make sure that you participate in the Governance Ethics Academy. But that is not the only thing that we did. I don't know whether you remember, almost 10 years ago to the day also, when the FCS Wamwangi Task Force was put in place, we said to ourselves, our statute, the CPS Act, is 1988. It was 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And already the Constitution had been in place since 2010. We had our Article 10. But our statute was not aligned to the Constitution. So I remember FCS Wamwangi leading us. We were a group, and I don't know whether they remember. FCS Pius Ndwati was also there with us, quite a number of us, and we also burnt the midnight oil, asking ourselves, now this is the profession that we have. We used to call ourselves the Institute of Certified Public Secretaries of Kenya. And we asked ourselves, now that we have developed instruments for governance, are we really still just secretaries? Are we governance professionals? I don't know whether you remember those discussions. We have had them intermittently over the years. But with the FCS Wamwangi Task Force, we came up with a very first draft of the Certified Governance Secretaries Bill. Governance Secretaries, reminding us that our trusted advisory status as governance professionals was also included in our name. It has been a long journey. The first draft, we delivered it to the Honorable the Attorney General and the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury. And we want to thank our line ministry because successive leadership, including the current Cabinet Secretary, the current Principal Secretary, they have been very supportive. And I know you remember also the FCS Dr. Kandie Task Force. We have had membership in that task force from an even wider group of people. And we came up with a draft. We actually took it on the road. I know personally I joined the team that went to Nyeri. I know there was a team in Mombasa, there was a team in Kisumu, actually pretty much the whole country. And we also launched that whole process with CS Kibet, online virtually for all our members when we launched the program. And yes, it has been a long wait, but we have seen the fruits because the Certified Governance Secretaries Bill 2026 is now a reality. It is before Parliament. It has undergone the first reading, and as you saw in the dailies, they are undertaking Parliament's public participation. I don't know whether you remember where we have come from. We have made great strides. And I know there's still much more to be done. And to you who has sent a memorandum to Parliament, I really want to thank you, because your efforts, your comments, your support will make all the difference in making sure that when the bill goes into the next stages, the second, the third reading, and ultimately our prayer is that it will go to the President. And we know that our Secretary to the Cabinet, Honorable FCS Mercy Wanjiku, you have seen the efforts that she has placed in making sure that we achieve that goal. I'm not sure if I'm able to thank everybody who has been so integral to this journey, but I want to tell you this. Every journey starts with one step, and every step we have made has involved one of us. And no doubt, even as we move into the future, that member will be you, to make sure that that bill comes into force. Once it becomes a reality, it is my hope and my prayer that you will continue to engage with it so that we can build governance practice even further. All these successes, and I know quite a number of you were at the international annual conference that we held just a couple of weeks ago. And you remember, even the Commissioner for Cooperatives said, that mwongozo you did for state corporations, we want one for the cooperative sector. I just want to thank you for having been part of this journey and making our profession credible, making our profession very relevant, and ensuring that those conversations that we used to have about governance are no longer abstract. They are real, and today we practice them on a day-to-day basis. And that is probably one of the reasons why I celebrate the governance ethics, mentorship and internship program. This brought all our young members to the fore. The gap then was that our younger members were saying, you want us to have experience. How do we gain that experience so that when we come to the interviews, we can say, we know we can do. So when GEMIP was put in place, the whole idea was to put young members in groups with the leadership of a mentor. And I know you have seen the mentors who are there. They are the leaders in our industry. And I know you want me to thank them for the role that they have played in nurturing the younger generation. I am so grateful for the team that has made this a reality. Each and every person who has played a role. It is probably the only structured mentorship program in the country, probably even on the continent when it comes to governance practice. The young members, those who started, the first cohort started in 2022, and then we have had a cohort every single year. I know when we started, I know you remember, you weren't sure whether it would even catch on, but you have seen the fruits. The young men, the young women who are our governance professionals today, they have been gobbled up by the workplace, by our marketplaces, because they have been able to gain the practical skills on top of the certification that we have been doing through CASNEB, our other pillar, our examining body. And I know you know, because you have come for their graduations. We have graduated about 100 mentees every single year. That is 100 young members, young in the profession, young also in age. And that is our commitment to the sustainability angle of governance. We champion it, we have lived it, we have been able to build from strength to strength. I thank first the mentees who agreed to come forward to test, to see whether this program was going to work. Those who have engaged with the program diligently, and those who have graduated. In the recent annual conference, I met all 43 of them, and I made them this challenge, and I will also challenge you with the same challenge. Let us get used to graduating. That is what a learning profession does. Graduate from GEMIP. Make sure you take the next step. Don't relax. Graduate, because every single time you graduate, you're told you have been given the power to read, the power to do something. So I just want to make that my call to action. To, yes, the members of GEMIP, but also to the older generation. We still desire your participation. We still want to learn from you. We still want to hear from you. For those who have been in the journey ahead of us, graduation looks like this. We have a very active arm of ICS that engages with research. We want to hear your story. You have given you a voice, an opportunity to express yourself, to share this journey that I am talking about, so that our members, not only our members, but everybody remembers where we have come from, how we have engaged with this concept of good governance. You have played a great role. You have been the visionaries. We want you to be able to speak to the future. Not each mentee will be able to be partnered with every established governance professional. So my call to you, put down your memoirs. Tell us what it was like, President Sam Okuthe. You have been a president of all certified or corporate and company secretaries of the world. Please write something. Tell us what it is like to be in leadership at the international, regional, and then those of you who have led in whatever capacity. FCS Wamwangi, tell us about what you did in the task force. You too, FCS Dr. Kandi, let us hear from you. Let us immortalize all that you have done for the cause of governance professionals in Kenya and to our brothers and sisters across the border, in the region, and around the world. I just want to say thank you very much. Asanteni sana.